I actually think this was a really good sequel. Let's do it. Happy Death Day to You picks up right after the events of the first movie, but this time it's from the perspective of Carter's roommate Ryan. So Ryan wakes up in his car, and as he's walking back to his dorm, he has this encounter with an old woman, with a homeless man, and eventually he gets back and he walks in on Tree and Carter, who kick him out, which again is exactly what we saw at the end of the last movie. So Ryan, having nowhere else to go, decides to go to the school lab where he is working on this quantum reactor with his friends Samar and Dre. The school dean comes in and shuts their project down because apparently it's causing too many blackouts throughout the school and it's also not producing any viable results. So Ryan's upset, but he goes on with his day, and later that night we see him be attacked and killed by somebody in the babyface killer mask. After he gets killed, you guessed it, he wakes up on the same day. Wakes up in his car, has the interaction with the old woman, the homeless man, goes back to his dorm and finds Tree and Carter. So he tells them, and Tree of course immediately believes him because she just went through this whole thing herself. He takes them to the lab where they find the quantum reactor and they discover that that's what's responsible for the time loops. So that night, the three of them plan to trap and kill the killer to hopefully close the loop. But when the killer attacks and they unmask him, it's another Ryan. There's two of him. And Ryan too tells them, I have to kill this Ryan. It's the only way to close the loop. So Ryan 1 panics and goes over to the reactor and presses a bunch of fucking buttons. And this releases some sort of energy field from the reactor that knocks everybody unconscious. And when Tree wakes up, she is back in the original loop. Naturally, Tree has a motherfucking breakdown. She quickly realizes that this loop is not exactly the same. Because when she gets back to her dorm, Lori does not try to give her a poison cupcake. She also finds out that Carter is dating Danielle, her sorority sister, who's just awful. Or at least was awful in the last loop. So Ryan understands that this is happening because of the reactor, and something must have happened where it threw Tree into a different dimension, and things are different here. So Ryan is going to configure something to put her back into the other dimension. When Tree goes to dinner with her father, she learns that her mother is still alive in this dimension, which changes everything. She goes back to Ryan and tells him that she wants to stay, but she knows she has to kill the killer in order to close the loop. So Tree goes to the hospital expecting the same thing. Lori's the killer, she's gonna frame that Toombs guy. The killer kills a police officer and then chases Tree into the elevator where she runs into Lori. So Lori is not the killer this time, so Tree's like, it must be Toombs. And Lori's like, that's not possible because I just took him down into surgery. The killer is somebody completely different in this dimension, and he proceeds to stab and kill Lori and then chase Tree to the roof where she falls off and dies. So Tree wakes up on the same day again, and she takes Ryan to the lab and tells his team that they have to help her escape. And they're like, the only way we can make that work is if we test out a bunch of algorithms. We can't possibly know which algorithms failed because the day starts over for us. We're not going to remember this. So Tree begins to memorize all these equations and algorithms so she can give it to the team the next day so they know which ones failed. Instead of letting herself be killed by the killer, she takes herself out before the day ends. So we get this montage of all these different ways she does that. At one point she jumps out of a plane, she jumps into a wood chipper, she drinks bleach in the middle of a market. Well, eventually Tree collapses one morning and Carter brings her to the hospital where she sees Gregory, but he doesn't recognize her in this dimension, so they're not having an affair here. So being in the hospital, Tree steals a gun to go after the killer and she manages to shoot the killer dead. But then another one shows up behind her and kills her, so there are two killers in this dimension. All these days go by, but eventually the group is able to find the correct algorithm based on all the ones they eliminate because of Tree's crazy memory. Because of a technical issue, Ryan's like, it's going to take a few hours. And he also tells Tree, you need to decide which dimension you want to be in. She decides she wants to stay in this dimension with her mom as opposed to go back to the other dimension where she's with Carter. But Carter tells her, like, do you really want to live a life that's not yours? Like, you have memories with your mother that you don't remember. Like, that grief and loss that you experienced help you become who you are. Tree ends up going to meet her parents and she frantically tells them, like, we need to get out of town. We need to get as far away as possible because she needs to avoid being killed until Ryan can get the formula inputted in the reactor. So Tree and her parents go to a motel and her mom starts talking about, oh, remember this from last birthday? And Tree doesn't remember it because she wasn't there. Tree turns on the news to find that Carter was killed in the hospital while trying to save Lori. So Tree realizes she loves Carter. She doesn't want to live in this dimension without him. She tries to call Ryan before he can make this permanent, but he's not answering. So Tree gets in a car and crashes it and kills herself just before Ryan is able to make this permanent. This time when Shri wakes up, she decides that she wants to go back to the dimension where she belongs. So she makes her amends in this dimension. She makes up with Laurie and tells her that she is too good for Gregory. She shouldn't be seeing him because Laurie is still having an affair with Gregory in this dimension. He finds Danielle cheating on Carter, so turns out she does still suck in this dimension too. And then Shri goes and has a very beautiful heart-to-heart and says goodbye to her mom. We think everything's gonna be okay. They go to activate the reactor when the fucking dean walks in with security and pulls the plug. He takes the reactor to his office. Now Shri is like, I don't think I can survive dying again. We have to do something about this here. They enlist Danielle to help and distract the dean while they steal his keys and get the reactor. Ryan gets the device ready and Shri goes to the hospital to try and save Laurie. And at this point, it's revealed that the killer is Gregory. He wanted to get rid of Laurie because she threatened to tell about the affair. But then suddenly his wife appears and shoots Laurie in the stomach because she was the second killer, because she actually already knew about the affair and wouldn't let her ruin my marriage. Bitch, it's already ruined. Blame your husband. She did all that for nothing because Gregory then turns the gun on his own wife and kills her. A chase ensues between the two of them, but ultimately Shri is able to kill Gregory. Laurie actually survived the shot and is tended to. Shri then sees Carter and the two of them kiss as Ryan activates the reactor. And it works, and Shri once again wakes up the next day and everything is back to normal. Now we get a post-credit scene where the group is confronted by DARPA, who took the reactor and now has it in their possession. And they basically tell them, we're looking for a test subject to put into a loop. And Shri is like, I think I have the perfect person. And we see Danielle waking up screaming, clearly being in a loop, and the movie ends.